When we speak about questions of assisted fertility, the main idea that the Catholic Church sort of wants to put forward is that it must harmonize with the idea of the unitive and procreative aspects remaining together. That the unitive and the procreative elements of the marital sexual act are meant to stay together and not to be separated. During the course of this year, have you had a topic or an evening on contraception and the church's teaching on that? Has that come up as one of your topics? Maybe, okay. So, just in general, very briefly, part of the reason that the church teaches that contraception is wrong is the idea that the marital act has a unitive element uniting the spouses, husband and wife, and has a procreative element, that is to say, an openness to the bringing forth of human life. Not that every act has to be intending that, but that openness has to be there. And procreative means to create along with God, really, is what we're talking about. And so most of the time, when you hear maybe some Catholic speaker or some comment speak about separating the procreative and unitive aspects of the marital act, they're often talking about a contraceptive act, right? That is trying to have the unitive without having the procreative. Well, with questions of assisted fertility, the danger we have to avoid is the idea of potentially seeking the procreative without the unitive. And so what the church asks is saying that every child that is conceived and brought forth into this world should be brought forth from the loving embrace of mother and father, by their loving self-gift, which is not just an idea of the mind, but is actually the physical act of sexual intercourse, is the proper way for a child to come into the world, because again, that child is a manifestation and existence, a bringing forth of the love of husband and wife, of mother and father into the world. So, in general, if a particular method of assisted fertility or assisted reproduction, you might hear sometimes, if a particular method assists the natural process of conception, then it's okay and it's a very good thing. But if it replaces the natural process, if it does something that circumvents, goes around the use of sexual intercourse as the way that child is conceived, that's an area where the church would say, okay, no, that's where we don't agree with that. We don't believe in that because part of, again, that dignity of the child to be born, to come into the world, is in part from that loving embrace of mother and father, of husband and wife. Now, certainly, one thing to remember is that we know, from time immemorial, many people are conceived in ways that do not fully fit that description, right? Someone who's conceived by a couple that's not married. Someone, even more tragically conceived through an act of rape. In those cases, the person conceived is still and completely a fully human person with all the same dignity that you and I have. And so also, a child conceived and brought forth into life through an act of assisted reproduction that replaces the marital act, one that we would say is morally illicit or morally wrong, is still and completely a fully human person with all the same rights and dignity that go with that. So that's important to remember along the way. But again, the basic idea, assisted reproduction, assisted fertility, needs to assist the marital act and not replace it. Therefore, the Catholic Church does not accept in vitro fertilization, artificial insemination, or surrogate motherhood. And often, if I mention this, if we had a larger room here present, there'd probably be somebody that would say, wow, I didn't know that. It's not something that comes up in many homilies, right? I been a priest 15 years, and I can't think of any reading that exactly matches this. I've worked it in once or twice on something, but it doesn't lend itself right away to it. And again, part of that, the building blocks, if you will, is the idea of that sexual act having the unitive and procreative aspects that need to remain united. And so procreation then needing to come from that loving physical embrace of mother and father, of husband and wife.